So it's your boy, Shorty Doo-Wop, aka the coach, coming back with your post-fight analysis from the Errol Spence Mikey Garcia fight. And boy, what a fight. Spence went in there and actually did a ton of work. And I don't think anybody was really expecting to see out of him. I think most people were expecting Errol Spence to go in and just really be that bigger guy. Just go in there and just kind of walk through Mikey Garcia's punches and just apply a lot of pressure. But don't get me wrong, he did do that. But he also showed that he has more wrinkles to his game than that. And before I continue on with the post-fight analysis, let me just go ahead and tip my hat to Mikey Garcia. Mikey went in there against all the odds. You know, his brother, his family, everybody told him, everybody said, Mikey, you're crazy for going in here and taking this fight. And he went in there, he did it. He put in the hard work, he trained, he made weight, and he got in the ring, man. But again, like I said in my last video, with the boogeyman of 147 pounds. But sadly, he found out why Errol Spence is the boogeyman of 147 pounds. So let's break this fight down a little bit, right? So Mikey Garcia, everyone knew coming in that he was just going to be naturally small. He was at a huge disadvantage. Errol Spence he has a reach advantage over him. He had a weight advantage over him. But Mikey kept saying, as things were leading up to the fight, Mikey kept saying that he saw something. He saw something in the Peterson fight that he felt like that he could exploit when he got in the ring with Errol Spence. And Mikey asked for this fight. Mikey asked for it, and Errol obliged. But I will say I'm still not quite sure what Mikey saw during that fight particularly that he felt that he could exploit. I've watched tons and tons of video on both fighters, on Mikey Garcia. I've watched tons of video on Errol Spence, and the more and more I kept watching their previous fights, the more and more I kept seeing that this fight was going to be extremely difficult for Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia has been known to have great ring intelligence. He's got good feet. Like I said in the previous, and I'm gonna keep touching on some of my previous comments from my first video. If you guys haven't seen it, that first video was 10 days out, episode 1, just something else that I'm starting on the channel. 10 days out prior to a big fight. I'm going to do a pre-fight analysis, and then just like this one, I'll do a post-fight analysis. So you guys check that out if you get a chance. But getting back to it, Mikey's always been known to have, you know, pretty good footwork, but again, he's never been considered a dancer. He's not the type to really float around the ring. He's not the type to dance around the ring. And again, like I stated before, he's been criticized about standing in front and squaring up with his opponents. I also stated that if he did that against Errol Spence, that it probably wouldn't be a good night. He did do that. The more I watched Mikey's videos, the more I saw that Mikey Garcia is the same person. He has a rhythm about him, and he's a very big creature of habit. His 1-2 punch, I stated before, that was kind of like his bread and butter punch. That was something that we did not really see in this fight, and there was reasons why Mikey had such a difficult time with Errol Spence. So I'm gonna give you my perspective of what happened. So this is what probably should have been the plan going into the fight for Mikey Garcia. So my original prediction for how Mikey Garcia was going to plan this out was that he was going to go in trying to control the lead hand, right? If you look at some of his previous fights, Mikey usually does this in those first 2 to 3 rounds. He'll kind of throw the hand out there. He'll tap the lead hand of his opponent, and he's looking to time you. He's exceptional at timing, but he's looking to time you when you're stepping forward. And that is how Mikey usually controls his opponent. They step forward, boom, he pops him with a jab. And he has a way of figuring you out. And then Mikey is really conservative. He's really conservative with his punches, especially when it comes to letting the right hand go. He's kind of calculated in that manner. What I'm saying is that he really won't throw a punch unless he knows that there's a high probability that that punch is going to land. There's really not much wasted energy with Mikey Garcia. The problem though with Mikey is that he's not really good at getting offline. He seems to be comfortable with hitting you. A lot of times he'll hit you with a jab and then he'll just stand right there. He's not a really big counter puncher. Mikey gets into a seek and destroy mode though when he's finally gotten to your head, when he's got inside of your programming. That is when Mikey Garcia really gets at his best. But he faced an opponent last night in Errol Spence, who I don't think gets enough credit for his boxing IQ. The thing about Mikey and Errol is that Mikey's fighting style does not match up well against Errol Spence. And I'll say it again. I don't think Errol Spence gets enough credit for his boxing IQ. Errol Spence went in and effectively took away everything that Mikey Garcia does well. Literally everything. And I think that was really reflected in the punch stats. So I have a stat here that shows that Mikey Garcia didn't land more than 10 punches in any single round out of all 12 rounds. And let me give credit to Mikey Garcia again for going 12 rounds with Errol Spence. During the fight, I'm not gonna lie, I actually was criticizing his brother Robert for not getting that man out of that fight earlier. I thought, I believe it was in the 9th or 10th round. Somebody let me know down in the comments. I want to say it was the 9th round that Mikey took a ton of punishment. Errol finally got him up against the ropes, and he really turned up the heat on him. But Mikey stayed on his feet. I can't say that there's too many guys who would have done that. I mean, Errol Spence is, 24 wins, 21 knockouts. Well, make that 25 wins at this point, but before 24 wins, 21 knockouts, it was only 3 guys that actually made it out of the ring. And here is Mikey moving up 2 weight classes and stayed on his feet. He took a barrage of punches and still stayed on his feet. So credit to Mikey Garcia. The man has tons of heart. Eventually, I think he's going to move down probably back to 140. I think it's going to be too difficult for him to make 135 at this point, but he's probably going to move down to 140. And if he can take anything away when he goes back to 140 pounds, because I don't think anybody there is really going to be able to hurt Mikey. I don't think anybody at 140 is packing the same type of crap that Errol Spence Jr. is. So if he can walk away with anything, he can walk away with his head held high, that he stayed on his feet more than anything else. But back to Errol Spence, man. Errol's IQ, I think, it's exceptional. He's really good. He does things. He finds out your tendencies, and he just exploits you, man. I think he knew that Mikey Garcia in the first 3 rounds was actually trying to time him. Errol Spence threw out a lot of lead hand feints to try to bait Mikey Garcia into punching over his jab. He would step in and then step back out to bait Mikey Garcia into throwing that jab to time his step. Errol did a great job of disrupting Mikey Garcia's timing. He did a great job at being ambiguous with his own offense. And I haven't even started talking about the size factor yet, and because I know most people are going to say Errol Spence was that effective because of his size. If he wasn't that big, then maybe he wouldn't have been as effective against Mikey Garcia. Man, I don't know. I don't know. But I will say this. Errol Spence went in, executed a game plan to perfection, to absolute perfection. There was not a point in time during the entire fight where Errol Spence seems like he was in any type of trouble. As a matter of fact, there were times that he almost seemed like he was playing with his food. I deep down, I feel like Errol Spence took it a little bit easy on Mikey. I say that because there were times where Errol Spence was really turning up the heat, and then he would kind of take off of the gas a little bit. And I could be wrong, but that's just the way it's seen from a spectator's view. I think he knows that he could have caused some serious damage to Mikey Garcia. Mikey still has a really bright career ahead of him. And fights like this do real damage to an individual. Mikey Garcia is 32 years old. And I almost want to say that a knockout would have been a better option than for him to take as much damage as he did from a big guy like Errol Spence. But again, I have to give Mikey credit, man. Like, he's got tons of heart. He went in, fought a guy nobody else wanted to fight. But this was the first time that we ever saw Mikey Garcia look discouraged. This was the first time that we ever seen Mikey Garcia not have a plan or a way to adjust to the individual in front of him. And that should be additional credit to Errol Spence Jr. His IQ, his jab. And I'll go back. Mikey Garcia said leading up to the fight that he felt that he was just a little bit better than Errol Spence in every aspect. He kept saying that he was faster than Errol. He said that he was smarter. He said his IQ was better. He had better footwork. Mikey always spoke about his power, that he could get Errol Spence to respect his power. Sadly, none of that was true. And being that confident going into that fight, and then the fight being a clean sweep on my scorecard, I had Errol Spence winning every single round. And don't get me wrong, I like to be as unbiased as possible. I'm a huge fan of the sport, and I've never been a huge fan of any one particular fighter. And I just call it like I see it. Last night's fight was a clean sweep for Errol Spence. I find it very difficult for anybody to give Mikey Garcia a single round when he didn't land more than 10 punches in any single round. And by the end of the fight, I think the announcer said that the shot differential was like 5-1 at one point in Errol Spence's favor. So it was a clean sweep. I really couldn't. I mean, Errol Spence put on a complete boxing clinic. Do I feel that this solidifies Errol Spence as the top pound for pound? No, I wouldn't say that. And it's for the fact that Mikey Garcia, yes, I think by Ring Magazine, Mikey Garcia was ranked 7th on the pound for pound list, and Errol Spence is ranked like 10th. I do believe that Errol Spence will move up probably 3 or 4 spots on that pound for pound list, but I can't put Errol above people like Canelo Alvarez. I can't put him above the Alexander Usyk. I can't put him above the Terrence Crawfords, at this point. Errol Spence has got he's got a few options in front of him. Pacquiao was in the ring. Sean Porter was there. Sean Porter has the WBC, which I would really actually like to see that fight. And it's time for these guys to get in the ring with Errol Spence and start unifying these titles, man. Like, tonight or last night definitely proved that Errol Spence belongs here. I will say that. He belongs at the top level of the sport. And it's time for these guys to get in there with him. Mikey Garcia came up 2 weight classes and fought this man. It's time for these other guys to get in there They're bigger than Mikey. They shouldn't be scared to get in there. Like, get in the ring. Let's make these fights, man, and start giving the fans the stuff they want to see. But that's what I gotta say, man. If y'all want me to do a more in-depth fight analysis, then I can. I've got a couple videos that I can actually break down, and we could do it shot for shot if that's what you guys like. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of the sport, man, and I've watched tons and tons of video. I know in my last video I said that to me, Mikey Garcia is like a jack of all trades. He's good at everything, but not really a master of anything. And I think that was solidified watching the fight last night. What was also solidified is that Errol Spence is an exceptional talent, an absolutely exceptional talent. If you guys don't know enough about Errol Spence, it's time to start going back and watching his fights. And I'll give you guys a little bit of some study if you would like. Watch Errol Spence's fight with Phil LaGreco, his fight with Kell Brook, of course, and his fight with Lamont Peterson. I think Errol Spence grew a lot between those three fights, more so from his fight with Kell Brook to his fight with Lamont Peterson. And just so y'all know that I ain't Errol Spence biased, I had Kell Brook winning the fight up until the stoppage, and I thought Kell Brook was able to turn Errol Spence into a very linear fighter at a certain point. But again, to Spence's credit, he's just got that grit. He's got that never say die kind of attitude, and he'll just keep coming forward. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you guys again, man. Let me know down in the comments how y'all think the fight went. How is Mikey Garcia? How's he going to handle, his first loss? And not just a first loss, but he lost being really dominated. Yes, I understand it was by a bigger guy, but Mikey knew, he deep down, he felt that he knew something that he could exploit in Errol Spence, and it really didn't go his way. He was completely out of rhythm. He could never find his timing. And he was forced to kind of retreat and put his hands in his pockets. Yeah, you guys let me know how y'all felt about it. How did y'all feel about his brother not stopping the fight? Would you guys have stopped the fight? I mean, I know how I felt about it, but let me know how you guys feel. Yeah, man. This is Shorty Doo-Wop, the coach, man, signing off after a great weekend, great fight. Again, hats off to Mikey Garcia. Hats off to Errol Spence. Yeah, and I'm signing out, man. You guys can find me at Shorty Doo-Wop, twitch.tv. I usually stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, sometimes on Saturdays, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, usually around 7:30 or 8 o'clock or so. I'm in the military, man, so I gotta balance things out. So I usually can't get on till a little bit later at night. You guys come follow the channel, man. Come follow the channel. I play some video games. Y'all can come in the chat, come talk with me. Let's talk about the sport, man. Let's talk about how the fight went. There's some few fights coming up, man, that I kind of want to cover. Clarissa Shields versus Christina Hammer. I really kind of want to touch base with that. Yeah, man. So let me know down in the comments how y'all felt about the fight. Shorty Doo-Wop, the coach, signing out.